Hello everybody, my name is Luigi and I am a physiologist. There is an epidemic of nutrients deficiency that is affecting and devastating the lives of many people, families, and entire communities worldwide. This is a serious problem that should not be ignored. It is time to act and improve it. Now, there are many factors that contribute to nutrients deficiency. We will be focusing in particular about how soil impoverishment impacts on plants, animals, and eventually on the food and the level of nutrients. And this in turn will affect your health and well-being. In this podcast, we will discuss the details as well as the whole picture, and you will gain knowledge and understanding on how to become proactive and prevent the nutrients deficiency impacts negatively on your health and well-being. Now, there was a study, which is a global study, and was looking at micronutrients inadequacies worldwide. As you can see here, there are some examples that I put together for you. Now, iodine is one of the highest deficiencies, 68%. That means that almost 7 out of 10 people are deficient in this nutrient. Then we have got calcium, 66%, vitamin E, 67%, iron, 63%, vitamin B2, folate, vitamin C, and vitamin B6, 50%, vitamin B1, 30%, vitamin B3, 22%, and selenium, 37%. These are some examples of the widespread deficiency of nutrients. Now we will see one of the reasons. There are many, but we'll focus in particularly on soil impoverishment. And also we will have some examples of how this impacts your health and what you can do about it. Now, here is a slide which I have put together for you, which is a simplified version of the nutrients and food chain in the natural environment. This it has been for most of the history of Earth. But let's see a little bit more details how everything works. This is a very, very beautiful example of how nature regulates itself in a sustainable, efficient way. So if you see the panel 1, which is on the bottom left corner, you will see the plants. Now, everything in a natural environment will start with plants. They are able of transforming the nutrients from the soil, utilize the sunlight into nutrients. Now, it is important to understand that in the natural environment, there is a variety of plants. And for example, trees have a particular important role because they prevent erosion of soil and the loss of nutrients when it rains. On panel number 2, just above number 1, we have the herbivores. In the natural environment, there is a wild variety of herbivores. And within the herbivores, an important role for the food chain are the ruminants. Now, the ruminants have a special digestive tract, which is divided in 4 cavities. And they have the ability of transforming plant material, especially grass, which for other species will be completely useless. They are able to transform it into muscle, bone, and tissue. They play an important role in the food chain because a lot of other animals will depend on it. So on the panel number 3, we can see the carnivores and the omnivores. Now, these have an important role in adding biodiversity to the environment, but also in controlling the number of herbivores, because without them, the number of herbivores will spiral out of control, damaging the soil and the environment. So everything in nature, there is a balance. Then we have the omnivores, from Latin means eating everything, which basically is both animal and plants. So everything is kept in balance. Now, on the panel number 4, we have got the scavengers. So any leftover that the carnivore and omnivore don't eat is consumed by the scavengers. They have an important role of utilizing to the maximum all the energy and all the food as much as possible. And at the same time, by removing carcasses from the environment, they help prevent the spreading of infectious disease. Now, in these 4 panels, we see how from plant we go to scavengers. Now, everything else that is not consumed by them, like, for example, some fallen leaves, some logs, some bones, any material, both from animal species and plant species, is actually and goes back to the soil. For example, all animals, urines, feces, everything goes back to the soil. Then we have the decomposers, which we include the fungi, the worms, some insects. What decomposers do? They break down all the fallen leaves, logs, and every remains from plant and animal sources, so that is degraded in a way that is broken down as part of the soil. Now, within the soil, this is the last step, there is the microflora. There are a huge amount of bacteria that transform the decomposed matter, the organic matter, into inorganic matter, and is brought back to the origin. So it's transformed into nutrients and minerals. As you can see on the last panel 8, on the panel number 8, you can see that everything that started from the soil has returned to the soil. Nothing, completely nothing, has been wasted. How beautiful is this? The natural environment is efficient. There is a huge biodiversity, and it is sustainable. Look how beautiful is nature. Is able to sustain a large variety of plants and animals. And everything is optimized and recycled in a way that everything starts from the soil and everything goes back to the soil. Modern farming actually affects both on the environment and on the soil nutrients, the amount of nutrients that the soil contains. And obviously this ultimately, because everything, as we seen earlier, starts from the soil, it will affect everything else, including your health. Now, from a large, if you see the panel number 1, on the bottom left corner, you can see that from a wide variety of plant species, trees, bushes, grass, any type of plant, during modern farming, everything is removed and displaced with the monoculture. Now, monoculture means a single crop each time in a particular field. Obviously, this will also cause deforestation, because in order to increase the soil for farming, all the trees have to be removed. So what happened? Because the tree with their foliage and their root when it rains, they prevent the soil from being washed away. So without them, there is an erosion, meaning that a small particle of the soil, including the nutrients, are washed away. As you can tell, this is a very, very bad for the environment, because it's damaging the topsoil, which is the most important one. In fact, there is evidence that topsoil is decreasing as a result of modern farming, and also the amount of nutrients. So already the nutrients have been washed away, part of the soil is being washed away. Now, loss of animal ruminant deprives the soil of manure. So the manure is the natural fertilizer. If you can imagine in a forest, in savanna, in any environment, including Europe before this was altered, basically they were the grazer that, yes, they were eating the grass, but then they were living in the same field. And as the food and the water was processed, both the urines and the feces, the manure, is actually one of the best fertilizer. So this is also another important factor that is contributing to the deterioration of the natural environment. So if you see the top two panels, both the wildlife in terms of animals, carnivores, omnivores, and scavengers, obviously when the food chain is interrupted and the natural environment is transformed into monoculture, they have been removed, as well as all the wild plant life. Everything, it has been replaced with a single crop. The loss of natural flora and fauna alter the natural re-enrichment of the soil, because when you remove everything, there are no fallen leaves now, there are no logs, there are no remainings of animal, because everything with a monocrop is completely taken away, either for animal consumption or animal feed and so forth and so on. So nothing is going back to the soil. Now, because of the use of herbicides and pesticides to control during monoculture, the decomposers are actually being removed from the nature. And this is an impact, because, as I was explaining earlier, they have the ability to break down any remaining, to decompose it in very small pieces. And also the herbicide is killing the microflora of the soil. So now, if anything at all is transformed or left, obviously cannot be transformed into something that the plant can utilize, I mean minerals and nutrients. As you can see from a very, very beautiful natural environment, sadly the modern farming is having an impact on the natural environment, on the soil, and because of this, obviously, it's having an impact on the amount of nutrients. So we have moved from something which was very efficient. There was a lot of biodiversity. Now there is a loss of biodiversity. Basically, it's one culture for a particular field. And obviously, this is not sustainable. It is clear that this is a complex problem. Now, obviously, this is not something easy to resolve. We have to say it. But let's hoping that modern farming can be improved. If we can get together, if people get together and really want to resolve a problem, very often, we manage to improve things. But obviously, in the meanwhile, it is important to understand the dominant effect is having on the people. The main focus now is how the loss of nutrients is affecting your health, your own well-being. I have a simplified here in these diagrams to show the domino effect. So basically, the soil, it has been impoverished. So the soil has no nutrients. And as a consequence, the plant, anything that comes after, that means plants and animal, they have less nutrients. So where people are vegan, vegetarian, carnivore, omnivore, because everything starts from the soil, the food that comes after, because everything is starting from there, is poor in nutrients. And obviously, when people consume food, as a result of not having enough nutrients, when I say nutrients, I mean especially micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and a lot of important molecules for the body. The food is now is depleted of these important nutrients, and this will have impact on people's health. It will cause initially dysfunction, but eventually it can cause a full-blown diseases. Everyone is affected. No one is spared. Because when the food is poor in nutrients, and we all need to eat, regardless of your age, you will be affected. Obviously, children, young children, the elderly, and people with disease, this is more apparent, is more obvious. But the impact is having does not exclude anyone. Now, I have put together here this diagram that explains, there are just some examples, how the symptoms of nutrients deficiency. I want to point out that even if there are no symptoms, because it depends how low are the nutrient levels. Sometimes it's called the subclinical, meaning that the body does not get enough to develop symptoms, but the damage that has been done, which means that when they manifest, when people develop symptoms, the disease is already at an advanced stage. So let's start from vitamin A on the top left corner. Vitamin A is extremely important for night vision. The eye is an extremely important sensory organ and very delicate. It requires, certain nutrients, and for night vision is required vitamin A. If people are deficient in this important vitamin, because the eye cannot function properly, they develop night blindness. So let's move down with see vitamin B3. Vitamin B3 is important for nerve function and for brain health. Deficiency of this important nutrient lead to depression. high amount of vitamin B3 have been utilized in orthomolecular medicine field to actually treat people with depression, anxiety, and even schizophrenia. So vitamin B3, it is also very important for the production of energy. And let's move a little bit down, vitamin C. Vitamin C is an extremely important nutrient, and it is very, very easy to be deficient because the body cannot store it, and it is very sensitive to heat and light, and the food need to be really fresh. So without vitamin C, there is an increase in infection because the immune cells, in order to function properly, they need the vitamin C. Also, vitamin C is transformed by the body in hydrogen peroxide, which is a way actually to kill germs. So without it, the likelihood of getting infections is much higher. Now, let's talk a little bit about vitamin D and osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a serious disease where there is a loss of minerals in the bones. Initially, it's called osteopenia, and then it's osteoporosis. Means the bony sponge is brittle, is very easy to break. Vitamin D plays an important role because it's key for calcium and phosphorus metabolism, which are a major component of the bone tissue. So a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D because the food is low in vitamin D, and the only way that the body can produce, in fact, the vitamin D is the only vitamin that the body itself can produce, is through the sunlight. But this requires the skin to be exposed, sufficient amount of skin to be exposed to very intense sunlight. Obviously, it is extremely important to avoid burning, but without sun exposure, the body cannot produce vitamin D, and the food is very low. So a lot of people are very, very deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin E. Vitamin E is an important antioxidant. Antioxidants are a molecule that are able to neutralize free radicals. Free radicals are a molecule that are unstable because their atomic and molecular structure is altered in terms of the amount of electrons. They look for electrons. They are extremely reactive. And the less the level of free radicals is kept in check, they will steal the electrons from the cells, from the tissue, from the DNA, causing damage and also causing disease. When the DNA is damaged, it can cause cancer. Vitamin D is important to keep in check, along with our antioxidant, to keep the free radicals in check. So vitamin E, like all antioxidants, they are able to give one or more electrons without themselves becoming free radicals. And now we move on the top right corner about iodine. As we saw earlier, 68% of the population is deficient or has got insufficient amount of this important mineral. Now, hyperthyroidism is increasing at an alarming rate, and iodine has an important role to play, because in order for the thyroid to produce functional hormones, iodine is required. So very often, if you ever saw blood test, you see T3 and T4. That means T3 has got 3 atoms of iodine, and T4 has got 4 of them. Now, the thyroid is extremely important to control metabolism, to control body temperature, normal function and anatomy of nails, skin, and hair. So a lot of people may be suffering from hypothyroidism, which is the thyroid is underactive, just because they don't have enough iodine. So, but just by provide the body with the correct amount of iodine can help in certain cases to resolve hypothyroidism. Then we move a little bit more down, chromium. Now, chromium is a mineral which is important for glucose metabolism. These days, a lot of people know about insulin, which is extremely important, but there are a number of nutrients and enzymes that are involved in the metabolism and utilization of carbohydrates in order to be controlled and to be transformed into energy. Chromium is one of them. If people are deficient in chromium, they can develop hyperglycemia. That means level of blood glucose above normal. And this can have devastating effect on the body. We know about the effect of diabetes. So extremely important to ensure that people have sufficient amount of chromium. Then iron. Iron is an important mineral because it's involved in the transport of oxygen. So basically, the red blood cells, imagine them, they're like a disc. In the middle, there is a protein called the hemoglobin, and within the hemoglobin, there is iron. And that's where the oxygen binds. The insufficient amount of iron, obviously, will affect the body ability to transport oxygen. And oxygen is extremely important for the production of energy. The mitochondria, which you heard probably about them, they're called the powerhouse of living things, including human, because they produce about 94% of the total energy. Without iron, the body cannot function properly and will develop a condition called anemia. Now, magnesium. Magnesium is extremely important. It's involved in over 300 metabolic processes. And I just put here fatigue, but a lot of other symptoms will develop. We will talk for hours. So why people with magnesium develop fatigue? One of the reasons is because when we eat, the food cannot be utilized directly. It needs to be transformed into a usable form of energy. So, very common people think food energy, no. But in reality, it is different. So the body utilizes mostly fat and carbohydrate to resynthesize a molecule which is called ATP. In order for this to happen, in order for the body to be able to produce ATP and utilize it, magnesium is key. So if you cannot produce the energy your body requires, you feel tired. These are the first symptoms. And then the last one I put for you today as an example is potassium. People without potassium can develop hypertension. Hypertension is a serious condition where the blood pressure is elevated above normal levels. Now, why this is actually important to keep in check? Because once you increase the blood pressure, the body needs to work harder to pump the blood because it's more resistance. So you will increase the workload of the heart, which on the long run can have serious consequences, can lead to heart failure. And also, high blood pressure increases the shear stress. The stress plays on the blood vessels, which eventually can damage them and lead to atherosclerosis. How potassium can help? Potassium helps in two ways, mainly. First of all, it will help the kidney to balance the amount of fluid. It will help to lose water. When you lose water, the volume of blood is less. As a consequence, this is one of the factors that the blood pressure decreases. Also, potassium is important to help relax the muscles within the arteries. So by creating a vasodilation, increasing the size of the diameter of the blood vessel, the pressure will drop. So I gave you some example of certain nutrients, but an important thing to bear in mind that all nutrients are pleiotropic. That means that they have more than one function. I just gave you some here. I gave here some example, but by no means these are the only one. For example, vitamin A is not just good for night blindness. It's an antioxidant. Is important for maturating cells, cell differentiation, a lot of things. We will need to talk for days. But I hope this gave you an idea how important is for you to make sure that you have enough adequate and possibly optimal amount of nutrients. So this is where Orthomolecular comes in. The problem of nutrient deficiency and the effect on health and well-being of people is quite serious. It is a problem worth solving. It is important also that people become proactive, that they understand that they have to take care and take control of their own health. And optimize the nutrients intake is a key factor. Now, how orthomolecular medicine works, how in fact, why it is important. In this diagram here, I have simplified how the nutrients are key. So imagine that we would have a special machine. I like this analogy where we could embark in a journey into exploring the human body. So at the beginning, like zooming progressively. So at the beginning, we will see the entire organism. Then we will see the organ system, then the organs, then the tissue, then the cells, and eventually we reach the molecules. Most of these molecules are nutrients that the body needs but cannot manufacture. When nutrients are not in the adequate amount, initially will cause dysfunction. If things are not corrected, it will cause diseases. So what is the principle of orthomolecular medicine? Is to provide the body with the correct molecule in the optimal amount. In doing so, you provide your body with the molecule it needs, not to survive only, but to thrive. And what are the main tools? What are the molecules that orthomolecular medicine actually utilize? As you can see here, I have created this diagram where the body is sort of symbolized by dots, where each dot represents the molecules. So we have constantly every day to provide the body with the right molecules. And those are vitamins, minerals, essential amino acid, essential fatty acid. Now, these are the nutrients, but there are also other important molecules that they will help the body function. For example, enzymes. When someone has problem with digestion, in some cases because there are not enough digestive enzymes, to transform and break down the food. Then probiotic and prebiotic. Since the time of Hippocrates, it is clear that we have to keep the gut healthy. A lot of diseases start from the gut. So probiotics are good bacteria that are important for gut health, for production of certain nutrients, and the prebiotics are actually are the molecules that the good bacteria need in order to live. They have to feed themselves. And natural bioactive compounds. These are compounds that are extracted from plants, and they have an important role in helping the body physiology and optimize it. So, for example, ashwagandha is extremely important to balance the stress hormones. Because excessive amount of stress has got detrimental effect. It's totally natural and work in synergy with the body. And everything which is utilized exists in nature. So this is an extremely important to understand. And many of these things are the nutrients and other important molecules. So knowledge is power. By watching, this podcast, you have acquired some knowledge which then you can utilize. And another important thing to understand is that nutrients and the bioactive compounds, they work in synergy. They work together. And the more factor we utilize to help the body function properly, to enhance physiology, this will have a positive impact on health, beauty, and wellness at the cellular level and at the molecular level. In the description down below, I have included further information that you may wish to read about orthomolecular medicine, about the importance of ensuring that your body gets what it needs. If you found this video interesting and you feel that someone can benefit, please, share it so they can benefit from this as well. If you have any comment, please include them also down below. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.